Hello, my ghosts and ghouls. Welcome to the most terrifying, scary time of the year. Um, Time of ghosts, ghouls, goblins, and monsters of all kinds. Yep, it is time, once again, for 31 Days of Horror. The one marathon for the more hardcore people of the community. The ones that can stand intense violence and extreme levels of gore. The ones that can handle pretty much anything any movie throws at them. Yes, it is that time. It has been a while since we've talked about horror here on the channel, and I think it's time, now more than ever, since it is October 1st after all, to dive into even more gruesome, very hardcore horror films. So, why not begin by continuing off where we left from our Legends of Literature marathon? A movie that we covered previously, Silence of the Lambs. But let's take a look now at its sequel and see how it really does not live up to the... Okay, I'm going to go ahead and drop the facade now because this is not a good movie. But, you know what? I will always take a good opportunity to show off my Psycho mask. I am still super proud of this thing, and Spencer Charles himself loves it too. So, yeah, I'm proud of that thing, and I'm going to use it as much as possible in this marathon. All fucking rights be damned. What's up? What's happening? What's going on, buddy? Welcome back to the Image Station, known as your favorite animation, including TV and movies as well. I'm your host, Jackson Small. Welcome to Return of 31 Days of Horror, and we're starting it off with, unfortunately, not a very good movie. Let's talk about Hannibal, the rushed out, very haphazard sequel to the incredible Silence of the Lambs. Now, for those of you that don't remember from my Silence of the Lambs review, I was one of the people that found that movie pretty good, but not, like, super amazing or anything. And you know what? That's okay. We all have different opinions. We all have different tastes. But I think we can all mostly agree that Hannibal, unfortunately, is just not good. Like, they did try. I can see that they tried. And it's not their fault because the actual book, Hannibal, that this is based off of, which is the third in the Hannibal Lecter series, was very controversial and not very good. So they didn't have much to work with, and they had to get a little bit creative, especially towards the end where they had a completely different ending than the original source material. So, yeah, unfortunately we're in for a bit of a mess, but I will say this, it's not a bad movie. Does the movie have a lot of problems? Oh, absolutely, and we're going to talk about every single one of them. But overall, there are worse horror movies you could be watching. Trust me. There's way worse stuff out there. I mean, Mickey's Mousetrap exists. Need I say more? But I don't really have a whole lot to say about this one because it's a very, very average movie. So, here's my written review. I hope you guys enjoy. It's been a while since I've reviewed a movie here, and with spooky season having finally begun today, it felt like the perfect time to bring it back. So let's start with this underwhelming sequel to Silence of the Lambs. The pros, the acting is very good. Julianne Moore does a good job filling Jodie Foster's shoes as Clarice Starling. The kills are solid. There is some nice gore in here. Gary Oldman is scary AF. Gary Oldman is the best part of the movie outside of Anthony Hopkins himself, who's still amazing as Hannibal Lecter. And it has some cool ideas, especially towards the end, where, like I said, I'm so glad they actually had an alternative ending to the actual source material, because, for lack of a better term, the ending in the actual source material is shit. However, this movie has a lot of problems, starting off with the fact that the story is a complete and utter mess. Like, this movie, it makes little to no actual sense. So many of it feels so rushed and haphazard, and it just keeps jumping from scene to scene to scene to scene, with little to no actual transition in between them or actually lead up to certain parts. Like, it's hard to explain, but the story in this movie is a complete mess. The cinematography is inconsistent. Remember how great the cinematography was in Silence of the Lambs and how it actually knew how to shot Hannibal Lecter? To where you didn't know how tall he was, you didn't know his actual body type, and nor did you actually know, like, his actual physicality. Unfortunately, here in this movie, you do, because they have no idea how to actually shoot him correctly. He doesn't look scary for the majority of the movie, and he just looks like a guy in his 60s. Now, to his credit, Anthony Hopkins still does an amazing job as this character, and they did give Lecter a slightly different appearance here, which just doesn't do enough, honestly. He tries, but it just doesn't do enough. The cinematography is inconsistent. But then you have other scenes like all the scenes with Gary Oldman, which are shot fantastically. The directing is poor. This is one of Ridley Scott's worst movies. And yes, I know I'm saying that considering the fact that both Alien Covenant and freaking Robin Hood exists. Like, ugh. One of his worst movies. Runtime is way too long. Way too long. This movie should not have been as long as it is. And towards the end, it's just outright silly. Like, I cannot think of any moments in this movie aside from all the scenes with Gary Oldman's character that were actually scary, because there weren't very many of them. And towards the end, it just got really stupid, arbitrary, and just downright silly. Which, in a movie like this, you don't want silly. Now, I don't mind a little cheese in horror movies. I mean, I'm a Friday the 13th fan, for fuck's sake. But at the same time, like, in a movie like this that's trying to be so straightforward and serious, you do not want silliness in there, because then it'll just take your audience out of the experience. So, maybe explains why this had such a mad box office, I don't know. Overall, it's painfully average and at best forgettable, which is a shame, because again, this is following up of a huge movie and one of the only horror movies to ever actually win Academy Awards. It has its moments, but it just can't live up to the first. It's far from the worst horror sequel I've seen, but still, at best, it's a one and done. You watch it just to say that you've watched it, for the sake of completionism of watching everything related to Hannibal Lecter. And outside of that, and as much as Gary Oldman tries, not even he can save this movie. It's just not good. So, because of that, final verdict for Hannibal is going to be a split down the middle, painfully average, 5 out of 10. It is a solid enough film. There are worse things you could be watching, but I can't see myself going back to this anytime soon. Real shame. However, the next movie is a prequel, and unfortunately it would appear to be the last time that Anthony Hopkins got to play the character. Is it a good way to go out? Or is it just a nail in the coffin? Well, we'll find out next time when we continue and finish off the little Hannibal Lecter trilogy with its prequel movie, Red Dragon.